My name is Pearl. I'm sitting on the porch steps of my childhood home, the familiar notes of Claire de Lune filling the empty house. Outside, Mrs. Thompson listens from her porch, dabbing at her tears with a tissue. And somewhere across town, my twin brother, Leo, is in a cell, finally realizing that his lies have caught up with him. Just a little while ago, I watched as the movers were loading my grandmother's piano onto the truck. I sat in my rental car, still in my military fatigues from my deployment in Syria. There was Leo, directing the movers like he owned the place. And according to the forged death certificate in his lawyer's office, he thought he did. "Be careful with that," Leo shouted, his voice carrying across the quiet street. "It's worth more than you'll make in a year." That piano had been our grandmother's wedding gift. She taught me to play Claire de Lune when I was 8, her gentle hands guiding mine. Leo had always scoffed at classical music, saying it was a waste of time. Now, he was selling it off. I'd been in Syria for 20 months as a communications specialist with the 101st Airborne, my third deployment. The last letter from home was 5 months ago. Mom wrote about her back pain, asking when I'd be home and telling me that Leo had moved back in to help out. She sounded tired but okay. Then, silence. I tried calling, emailing, and even had the Red Cross do a welfare check. Every time, Leo told me Mom was resting or not up for talking. I grew more and more worried, but there was nothing I could do from 6,000 miles away. That was until Sergeant Miller found me in the comm tent last week. "Pearl, you need to see this," he said, handing me a printout from a genealogy website. My wife was doing some family research, and this popped up. It was a death record, my death record. Pearl Thompson died in Aleppo, Syria, in a non-combat related incident. Body not recovered. I thought it was a sick joke at first. But when I looked at the source documentation, it was official U.S. military forms. Forged, but good enough to fool a civilian lawyer and transfer ownership of Mom's house to the only surviving child. I started digging right away, using my security clearance to access records that most people couldn't touch. What I found chilled me to the bone. Mom had died 3 months ago. The death certificate said it was a stroke. Leo had her cremated within 24 hours, no funeral, no obituary. He just got rid of the woman who had raised us alone after Dad left due to his gambling addiction. And within a week, he produced my death certificate and claimed everything. A young cop tapped on my window, startling me. "Ma'am, is everything okay?" I handed him my military ID. Everything's about to be very bad for the man across the street. He looked at the ID, then at me, and then at the ID again. "Pearl Thompson? But I was told there's paperwork saying you're dead." "Yeah, that's my twin brother's doing." "Are you Officer Reed?" I'd spoken to Detective Carter on the phone. His eyes widened. "You're the soldier who called yesterday." "I'm sorry, ma'am." I stepped out of the car, my boots hitting the pavement. "Is Detective Carter here?" "On his way. He told me to watch the house and make sure no one takes anything else," Reed said. He was young but sharp. "Is that your brother over there?" "Unfortunately," I replied. Leo was signing something on a clipboard, probably selling the piano to the highest bidder. He looked good, new clothes, a fresh haircut, all paid for with Mom's life insurance. He'd always been handsome in a smooth, manipulative way. We had the same face, but his was better at lying. "Ma'am," Reed said quietly. "Carter wanted me to remind you not to approach him until..." Just then, the detective's unmarked car pulled up behind us. Detective Carter was the opposite of Reed, older, heavier, with the weary eyes of someone who'd seen too much. He had 2 uniformed officers with him. "Ms. Thompson," he nodded. "This is quite a situation. Are you sure you want to be here for this?" "I've been in Syria for 20 months, Detective. I've seen worse than my brother getting arrested," I said. He studied the scene across the street. "He has no idea you're alive?" None. I've been very careful, only contacting military legal and you guys. Smart. Okay, let's go ruin his day, he said. We crossed the street just as the movers were closing the truck. Leo was counting cash, $100 bills, Mom's piano money. Leo Thompson? Carter called out. My brother turned, irritated. Yeah? If this is about the permits, I already. Then he saw me. The money fluttered from his hands. Hey, Leo, I said quietly. Miss me? His face went through a series of expressions: shock, fear, calculation, before he tried to put on a fake smile. Pearl. Oh my God, you're alive. This is a miracle. They told me you were dead. He actually tried to hug me, but I stepped back, letting him stumble. Who told you I was dead, Leo? I asked. The military. They sent official documents, he said. Did they? Carter stepped forward. Mr. Thompson, I'm Detective Carter. We have some questions about those documents, your mother's death, the quick cremation, and the house transfer. Should I go on? Leo straightened up and changed his tactics. I don't know what she's told you, but my sister is mentally unstable. PTSD from the war. She's probably confused, delusional even. Delusional? I pulled out my phone. Like when I called the house 3 months ago and you told me Mom was taking a nap. I have the recording, Leo. Military phones record everything. Mom had been dead for 4 days when you told me she was napping. His lawyer, a nervous-looking man in a cheap suit who probably only handled minor traffic violations, showed up. My client has done nothing wrong. He was acting on official documentation. Forged documentation, Carter corrected. We had the Pentagon verify. There's no death record for Specialist Thompson. No notification to the family. Your client created it all. That's impossible, Leo insisted. I got a call. An officer came to the house. What officer? What was his name? His unit? Did he give you a card? Leave any documentation besides the conveniently perfect death certificate? I asked. He was silent. Here's what really happened, Carter said, pulling out handcuffs. You knew your sister was deployed. You knew military deaths can take time to verify. When your mother died, you saw an opportunity. You're insane, Leo backed away. Mom had a history of strokes. She did, I agreed. Which is why it was easy to convince everyone she died naturally. But I talked to her neighbor, Mrs. Thompson. Mom was fine the day before she died. She went to the farmer's market and did some knitting. Then you made her dinner, and by morning, she was dead. You can't prove anything, he said. Maybe not about Mom, Carter replied. But forging military documents is a federal crime: fraud, identity theft, filing false death certificates. You're looking at a minimum of 20 years. The uniformed officers moved in. Leo tried to run, but he only got about 10 feet before Officer Reed tackled him into Mom's prized tulip beds. As they hauled him up, covered in dirt and petals, he screamed at me. You abandoned us. You left to play soldier while I took care of her. I deserve that house. I deserve everything. You deserved a mother's love, which you had. It just wasn't enough for you, I said quietly. They put him in the patrol car, and the lawyer scurried after them, already on his phone, probably calculating his retainer for a federal case. Carter turned to me. Are you okay? I'm alive, which is more than my brother wanted, I said. I knew the house was legally mine now. I looked at the 2-story Victorian house, white with pink shutters. Mom had painted those shutters herself last summer, her final project. I didn't want it. I wanted to turn it into a retreat for female veterans, a place where they could go when they had nowhere else. Mom would have liked that. Carter nodded. That's a nice idea. The moving truck was still there, the piano in the back. I walked over to the driver. That piano's not for sale. Neither is anything else from that house. Lady, I have a signed contract, he said. From a man who just got arrested for fraud. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to put that piano back exactly where you found it. Then you're going to return anything else you've moved, or we'll add theft charges. He looked at Carter, who nodded. I'd do what she says. As they unloaded the piano, I sat on the porch steps. This was where Mom taught me to read, where she waited up for me after my first date, and where she cried when I told her I was enlisting. Mrs. Thompson came out of her house, moving slowly with her cane. Pearl, is it really you? It's me, Mrs. T. Oh, dear, she said, tears in her eyes. I knew something wasn't right. When Leo said you died, but there was no funeral, no flag for your mother, I knew. Did she suffer? I asked quietly. At the end, it was quick. But she called me that night, said she didn't feel right after dinner. I told her to call 911, but she said Leo would take care of her, Mrs. Thompson said. My throat tightened. I'm so sorry, dear. I should have gone over. I should have checked, she said. It's not your fault. You couldn't have known what he was capable of, I said, squeezing her hand. The movers finished returning the piano. Through the window, I could see it back in its place in the living room. Mom's sheet music was still on the stand, Claire de Lune, the last thing she'd played. What will you do now? Mrs. Thompson asked. Bury my mother properly. Finish my deployment. Then, I don't know. Maybe learn to play the piano again. Mom always said I had a gift. As the sun set over the neighborhood, I sat on those porch steps and thought about gifts. Leo had been gifted with charm, good looks, and the ability to deceive. I'd been gifted with a sense of duty, a strong will, and the ability to survive war and family betrayal. But Mom's greatest gift had been her trust in us. Even at the end, she believed Leo would take care of her. That trust had cost her, but it had also made me understand that trust is precious. My phone buzzed. A text from my unit in Syria. When are you coming home? I looked at the house, my house now, though it would never feel like home again. At the tulip beds Leo had destroyed in his attempt to flee. At the piano visible through the window. Soon, I texted back. Just had to deal with some family business. The police cars were gone, taking Leo to face justice for trying to erase me. He'd spent so much time forging my death that he'd forgotten the most important thing about twins, were never really gone. We live on in the faces of our siblings, in the shared DNA, in the memories that can't be cremated, sold, or locked away. I stood up, brushed off my uniform, and walked into my mother's house. There was work to do, lawyers to meet, papers to sign, and a proper memorial to plan. But first, I sat at the piano and played Claire de Lune one more time. For Mom. For the grandmother who'd taught me. For the brother I'd lost long before he'd tried to declare me dead. The notes filled the empty house, beautiful, sad, and somehow perfect.